Betty Garrett, from Missouri, are you?
Yeah, St.
Really?
Joe.
Grew up in Missouri, St. Joe?
St. Joe.
Ah, okay. Tell me more about your father was a traveling salesman.
Right. Yeah,
When
he
you
was
were a teenager, huh?
he sold shoes, and wonderful long tables in his hotel room of shoes. They were always for 1 foot,
For only one
on the left foot, and they were always size
You
4.
lost your dad.
And my father used to cry bitter tears because he said, her feet are getting too big for my samples.
You lost your father when you were a teenager.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
And guess what? You won a scholarship to go to New York City and the New York Playhouse of
Neighborhood Playhouse,
Tell me
right.
about that.
Well, you know, I have to give my mother credit for this. She somehow knew where I belonged because I wanted to do everything. I had a scholarship offered to me to Scripps, which was like a journalist kind of scholarship, and to another girls' school, and I also could have gone to the University of Washington. I think if I had done that, I would have majored in boys.
Okay.
And so I would have accomplished nothing. But my mother, in the first place, I was very interested in dancing.
Martha Graham.
Yeah,
Come on about that.
Martha Graham was coming through town in a concert, and my mother, through a friend of hers, arranged for me to have an interview with Martha.
Right.
And I guess Martha was impressed enough that she arranged for me to have a scholarship to the Neighborhood Playhouse.
So Martha Graham, you studied, really.
I studied with her for 2 years, and then I became part of her group, her auxiliary group. When she needed extra girls, she would take me on. And I always remember one of the rehearsals where Martha said, she stopped the rehearsal with some little step where we were prancing. And she stopped the rehearsal and she said, Betty Garrett is the worst dancer in this group. How come she looks better doing that step than any of you? and she said, I'll tell you why, because she loves it. And I thought, if that is not a kind of motto that you should live by, if you love it, you'll be good in it. You know?
Absolutely, that's the truth. Tell me something about the Mercury Theater. Is that with Orson Welles and Joseph Cotton, that Mercury Theater that you joined?
With Mary Wicks and...
oh, what a theater group.
That was... It went on at exactly the same time I was doing concerts with Martha. So Orson used to kid me about bicycling between the two theaters. It was a show called...
That was in 1938. I'm not to interrupt you.
You're very good. You're
okay,
very good, yeah. And it was a show called Danton's Death. And it was about the French Revolution. And it died a very pathetic death because it really was too much. Orson tore out a whole bowels of the stage and built stairs that went down, and he had a cyclorama of nothing but masks, and the lights would come up on these masks, and it was, and he had lights that you could have lit Radio City Music Hall with, and it was just too much, and the audiences, I think, just didn't understand the French Revolution. What did they care?
Betty Garrett. Today, the actors are waiters and actresses are waitresses, but you had to work. You had to get a job as an elevator girl in order to survive. I love this. Tell me about that.
Well, that was actually before I ever left Seattle.
Oh, it was?
Yeah,
okay.
My mother worked in a music store, and it was the summer after I graduated from high school, and I was about to go to New York.
Yeah.
Okay. And she felt I needed to get we needed a little money.
I see.
And so I ran an elevator in Sherman Clay in Seattle. It was a big music store.
And you also worked nightclubs at the beginning before you got into Broadway theater.
Yeah, I worked at the Village Vanguard.
Did you really? That's a great...
I was just thinking the other day, I worked with Eddie Hayward trio backing me, and a wonderful folk singer from England called Richard Dyer Bennett, and I was the comic, the girl comic. And
Do lines or just musical singing?
well,
comedy?
no, I sang and did
television.
lines.
Did lines,
And then I did a lot of work up in the Bourse circuit.
Did you really?
Oh,
Betty?
yeah, I
you
played-
did that. I love it.
I played several seasons in the Bourse circuit and also down at Tamament, where Max Liebman, who ultimately put on the show of shows.
Right.
And that's where I met Danny Kaye. And Danny Kaye became a kind of mentor for me. He was going into a little off-Broadway show, and he recommended me to the director, and so I did that show at the same with Danny Kaye. And we ended up having the same manager for many years because
Really?
Danny recommended me to the manager.
Let freedom ring, Betty. Come on. That's
God,
your first. That's your
you're-
first Broadway. Come on, tell me
You're
about Let
digging back into.
That's what I
Thanks.
want to do because my audience. Go ahead.
Well, that came out of a group called the Flatbush Arts Theater.
Uh-huh.
It was a little group of professional and non-professional performers.
Right.
And so we put on little shows, and one of them developed finally into a show called Let Freedom Ring. No, I think it was called Let Freedom Sing.
Sing. Okay.
And that was with Mitzi Green, and her husband Joe Pevney
Right.
directed it. We had a really wonderful cast. The show was not a big success, but it toured what they called the Goober Gross Circuit,
Right.
New Jersey and Connecticut around. And that's when my manager, who was Mr. Mandel, who had been
Right.
Danny Kaye's manager, he got Mike Todd
Yeah, you know,
to come and see me.
MGM caught an eye at you. They said, let's get this girl a screen test. They brought
That-
you to Hollywood.
That was later.
Later?
Much later, yeah, about 5 years later.
Really? What happened in between?
Well, I
all this?
did one show after another.
On Broadway?
Yeah, I did I did Something for the Boys,
Okay.
where I understudied Ethel Merman.
You did?
And
Okay.
I had a song to sing in the show, which fortunately stopped the show. And Ethel very generously would call me back on stage to take a bow, which is unheard of
She
in a
was
musical.
generous, though.
She would. I loved her.
Great theater lady. The greatest.
And then I did a show called Jackpot with Jerry Lester and Nanette Fabre and Alan Jones and Mary Wicks and Benny Baker. And then I went into an Olson and Johnson show, which called Laughing Room Only.
You were in that one. That's
Yeah, that was the
right.
third one. They did Hell's a Poppin',
Hell's a
Sons of Fun, then Laughing Room Only.
Right.
And I was in that one for almost a year. And by that time, I was married. And so when I went in to Call Me Mister, which was a big
Big show.
success for me, I couldn't stay the whole run, but I stayed almost a year. And so Larry and I spent the first 2 years of our marriage 3,000 miles apart.
You met Larry Parks in the theater
I met Larry out here.
out here in California.
Yeah, I came out to California in between shows, and I was playing at a place called the Clover Club,
Okay.
which is no longer in existence. It was next to Ciro's on the Strip.
Right.
And Larry was associated with the Actors Lab.
On Strip,
And he
right
was-
by Schwab's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was doing an evening of comedy. He was producing it. And he was looking for somebody to do a Broadway sketch, which I had just come from doing in New York. And that's how we met
And happily married. And you stayed married
for
a
30
long
years.
30 years.
Yeah,
Larry Parks,
yeah.
The Joseph Story.
Yeah.
I was in that film. In
You told me. I
was
love
in
that.
film as one of the little Jewish boys in the temple singing in the choir. I had dark hair. I was
Yeah.
12 years old. Now I'm older. Betty, I loved The Joseph Story. That was one of the pictures I did. And Larry Parks was so kind and he was so
Yeah.
talented.
Yeah.
What a love life you had. That was a true love of your life.
Yeah.
How many kids?
2 boys, and they both look so much like Larry, you'd faint if you saw them.
Really?
My youngest son, Andrew Parks, is an actor, and he's a member of Theater West, my theater.
Yeah, right,
and,
I'm going to talk about that.
Yeah, and Garrett Parks is a musician and composer. And my daughter-in-law, Karen Culliver, was the lead in Phantom of the Opera in New York for 3 years, in San Francisco for 2 years, and she now has a group, a trio of gals who've played the lead in Phantom, and they're called the Phantom Leading Ladies. And they're going to perform at my birthday party.
Tell me about Betty Garrett, going to be 90 years of age. You're sitting there, I'm looking at you. 90.
Yeah,
This is
I
coming
can't
up.
believe it.
May the 30th, we're having a
31st.
big... 31st, May the 31st, we're having a big party at the Music Box in Hollywood. Tell me about it.
The Music Box used to be, for a while...
The Henry Fonda Theater.
The Henry Fonda. You know, before it was the Henry Fonda, it was the Music Box.
Music Box, they changed
And then
it
they
around.
changed it to Henry Fonda.
Yes,
So now
and
it's
this
called
is-
the Music Box Fonda.
But this theater, that evening, the 31st,
Yeah.
is for the Theater West, which
Right.
you are the founder of it.
Yeah.
You're the one. Tell
Yep.
me about it.
Well,
Which-
it's going to be a nice big birthday bash, as they call
Okay.
it. I just want people to know, although I'm one of the founders of the theater and everything, they're buying tickets not for me.
Right.
They're buying it for Theater West.
To keep it alive.
And it's one of the best theaters in town.
Right.
We've tried to really do good theater over the years. We have a wonderful children's show, a series of children's shows that have won all kinds of awards
That's
in
on
this town.
Saturdays. Right.
And that's usually on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Although they book almost anything. They take shows to schools. And it's really, they're our pride and joy.
I've seen you in many plays at that theater,
Yeah.
even with a broken foot, Betty Garrett. A toe, was it a broken foot? And
was
you went on.
A broken
with
foot.
Jim
yeah.
Bailey. Jim Bailey was in the show.
It was called Tallulah in Tennessee.
Tallulah.
Yeah.
I don't want to say who's Tennessee,
And
and I don't want to say...
I played Estelle Winwood.
It was great. That was a great evening. I remember that. The theater. You loved the theater so much. It stuck to your heart all the years. You've been a motion picture actress.
Yeah.
You worked with the greatest, Frank Sinatra. Come on.
Gene Kelly.
Gene Kelly, the greatest dancers in the
And
world.
Jack
on the
Lemmon.
town. Come on. But you got it. You brought me a clip. One of your favorite films.
Yeah.
What is it?
Well, it's not necessarily my favorite film, but the clip is one of my favorite numbers of anything I've ever done.
Really?
It just was so much fun to do.
This was with Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, let's see it. It's from
Take Me Out to
Take
the
Me
Ball
Out
Game.
to the Ball Game. Let's see it.
Hey! It's time you made your mind up not to stall with me. Start playing ball with me. Your future isn't changeable, shapeable. It's inescapable. If you should run to China or to Turkey or Sweden or Herzegovina or Mars, it wouldn't matter where you'd be. A force would pull you back to me. It's written in the stars. It's fate, baby, it's fate. And it's knocking at our door. It's fate, baby, and that's the reason.
That's great. What happened? Was that the end of the clip?
No.
What happened, sir? Well, that's Betty.
They didn't get to the
It didn't even
plate
get
where
to
I
the
picked
play.
Frank up.
Come on, let's do it.
Let me play again.
Oh, my. Okay, don't worry about it, sir. Thank you. Don't worry. Betty, this is a studio live here in West Hollywood. What can we do? Tell me about working with Gene Kelly and Sinatra. Tell me about Sinatra, first of all.
Well,
Big MGM stars you work with.
Yeah, that was probably one of the most happy, fun times of my life.
Right.
The 2 pictures on the town and taking
Right
to the
on.
ball game. It was like a stock company, really.
Uh-huh.
And I adored Frank. My favorite story about Frank is that the first day I ever met him was on this picture of Take Me Out the Ball Game.
Right.
And it was a close-up on Frank over my shoulder.
Right.
And we did the shot, and Richard, it was Eddie Bazell, I think, was the director, said, okay, let's move on. And Frank said, hey, wait a minute. What about a close-up on my girl here?
Took care of you.
And I had just met him, And so he made them turn the whole thing around over his shoulder, a close-up of me. And I never forgot him for that. That was so thoughtful and so
Lot of
made
people
me
have
feel
said that
important,
about
you
him.
know.
Everyone who worked with him say that.
The first person,
Very generous.
Yeah.
Very, very generous. He was.
yeah.
Anyway, tell me more about Gene Kelly, though. Gene Kelly.
Well, Gene is a perfectionist, and he worked you hard, but I loved every minute of it. And one of the things I love, the gal that he married late in life, his widow, I met her recently, and she's a darling gal. And she told me a story that I just treasure. She said, Gene loved you. He said, because he always said, Betty Garrett will do anything. I thought that was the greatest compliment. That's why I love that clip, because I run up and down bleachers. I do things that I look at now, I think, how did I have the nerve to do that?
You want to see that part of the, he was lifting you up? And
Well,
with
I
Sinatra?
lift
You lift
him
him
up.
up. Okay, I want to see that. I want to see that. Let my audience see it. Okay, can we hit it? Otherwise, I'll be lift up here.
It should be coming up here somewhere.
It's time you
soon.
made your mind up not to stall with me. Start playing ball with me. Your future isn't changeable, shapeable. It's inescapable. If you should run to China or to Turkey or Sweden or Herzegovina or Mars, it wouldn't matter where you'd be. A force would pull you back to me. It's written in the stars. It's fate, baby, it's fate. And it's knocking at our door. It's fate, baby, and that's the reason you're mine and I am yours. Don't wait, baby, don't wait. It'll happen anyhow. Don't wait, baby, to do next season what you can do right now. There's a plan for every woman and every man. Each was made for the other. Don't treat me like a brother. Too late, baby, too late. So accept your destiny. It's fate, baby.
Betty Garrett, Sinatra, when you look at these clips of yourself all the years, what goes through your head? What goes through your mind?
Well, some people don't like to look at things that are from the past because it makes them feel, I guess, depressed about getting old. But I just love looking at them because it reminds me of a really happy, wonderful, productive, creative time of my life.
And your children, when they see this?
They love it. And my granddaughter.
grandchildren, yeah.
My granddaughter, my favorite story is when we didn't allow her to watch a lot of television when she was really tiny. But her first movie she saw when she was 4 years old was On the Town.
On the Town.
No, yes, On the Town.
Yeah.
And she's sitting beside me with her little head on my shoulder, and all of a sudden she says, "Who dat man, Grandma?" And I said, "That's Frank Sinatra." She shook her head. A little bit later, Gene Kelly is on with Vera Ellen, and she turns to me, she says, "Grandma, that man not Frank Sinatra. And I thought, by God, as early as that, the magic of Frank Sinatra has gotten to her.
Yeah.
I said, that man not Frank Sinatra.
Gene Kelly, tell me, Betty Garrett, what did you learn from these great people? What did Betty Garrett has learned?
From
Being an MGM star, Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer star, musical, Broadway star, musical, theater, and movie star in musics. What did you learn?
What did I learn?
Yeah, from all that.
Well, I just must have learned as I went along.
It was great schooling for you.
Yeah,
That's the
absolutely.
best schooling in the world, and getting
Absolutely.
paid.
And it was a great education because I think I took on the habits and things of Gene Kelly. I took on, who I loved dearly was
Who?
Jack Lemmon. I took on his attitude toward work. He was so easy, at the same time he was a hard worker. And all of those people, you learn from everybody.
Any disappointments? Any disappointments in life? Now you're turning 90. What a great age. Look
Well.
at you. You're beautiful. You look great condition. You're having a big thing for you here at the Music Box. This must be a thrilling moment in your life.
Well, I just hope people will support
The
the
theater.
theater. That's my love.
They all will
I
come
love
out.
doing movies. I love doing television. I love doing All in the Family and Laverne and Shirley.
That's it, Laverne and Shirley, and All in the Family, the
Yeah.
next door neighbor.
Yeah.
You were for how many years
3 years in All in the Family, 7 years
on
in
Laverne and
and
Shirley?
yeah.
Working in the TV, did you enjoy working?
Yeah, but I didn't feel like, excuse me,
Here's some water, honey. It's okay.
I didn't feel like I had enough to do, enough to challenge.
Really?
It's usually a couple of lines, a couple of jokes, and
Yeah.
I like to work hard.
Well, you're a hoofer. You're a born hoofer performer, growing up as a true performer. How about a
What?
book? Your book, how is it doing?
Well, it's over 8 years, and it still seems to have a shelf life. You can get it on Amazon.com.
Yeah, but do you ever go to the ship cruises and work the ship cruises and ship cruises?
I did that a couple of times.
Isn't it
yeah.
fun?
I went to Alaska twice.
Uh-huh.
And
Did you
I've
like it?
been- Yes. Oh, what an amazing journey that is.
Uh-huh.
And then I've been to Hawaii, and I've been to Spain and Portugal, and just did little book talks
Uh-huh.
and sold a little books.
That's all.
And that's fun.
You're seeing Betty Garrett right now in your life having a good time.
Yeah.
You got your grandchildren. You're happy.
One grandchild.
One girl, one grandchild. But you
Yeah.
have several boys.
2 boys.
2 boys, and they are working, and I met them at the Theater West.
Yeah, I'm
They're
sure you did,
very,
yeah.
very fond of the
Yeah,
theater.
and my other daughter-in-law's married to Andy, is a therapist.
Uh-huh.
But she is a very artistic person. She does beautiful sculpture, and she also does flower arranging, and she also sings. And her name is Katie Melody. That's her real name. So naturally, she'd have to sing.
Does she sing in theater or in clubs
Well,
or?
no, she just sings like in a chorus or
A chorus,
something.
uh-huh.
But she's trained enough, so she's going to be in my show. My granddaughter's going to be in my show. Both of my sons and both of my
So you have the
daughter-in-laws.
family in the show at the Music Box.
It's going to be very personal.
Oh,
But I've got wonderful other people. I've got Carol Cook, who's going
that
to
red-haired lady.
she's going to roast me.
Is that
And-
who's roasted you, Carol Cook? Great.
Yeah, and David Engel, who's one of the most talented. He's from the Forever Plaid group.
Uh-huh. I know
And,
David.
Gogi Grant, do you know Gogi
Great
Grant?
singer. I've interviewed her
Great
many
singer.
times. Wonderful.
And so I'm going to have wonderful people on the show.
This is the 31st of May. You
Yeah.
are a Gemini, lady, a
Yes.
Gemini like me. My
Right.
birthday is June the 6th, but I'm having a party June 8th.
I got your card.
Yes, I'm having a big party.
All right.
Betty Garrett, I'm going to be there. Can I come to see your birthday, darling? I'd love to be there at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock starts
It's-
the silent auction.
It's on a Sunday.
And it's on a Sunday, and then I think the show will be like 6 o'clock, and there's wonderful food. And I think it's going to be.
So it's worth all
Yeah.
that.
No, do we have just a second about
You have a
something?
lot. Go ahead.
We always try, excuse me, I have a frog in my throat.
It's okay, as long as it doesn't crawl.
I used to say, I think I must have kissed a prince. I don't know what that means. Anyway, we always try to give a small percentage of any show that we do,
Right.
particularly fundraisers, to some organization that will help the community.
Okay.
And I think last time it was the AIDS Project. Another time it was Actors Fund.
Funds. And this one is
And
going to be?
this one is going to be dedicated. Have you heard of the Friends of the Hollywood Freeway Cap? I think that's the way it's
I
spoken.
know I have not. This sounds good.
This is the most interesting project. At some point, the Hollywood Freeway, and I wish I could remember the
That's
name of
okay.
the street, goes underground.
Uh-huh.
There is a 44-acre plot of land that they want to make into a park. It's the most densely populated area in the country.
Really?
And the most underprivileged.
LA and LA
Yes.
and LA.
Most it's along the
yeah,
Hollywood
yeah.
Freeway, and most underprivileged, really needy neighborhood for something like this.
Right.
So can you imagine this area that is nothing but streets and nothing really for recreation at all, suddenly having a central park
Isn't
with
that great?
walkways and grass and probably little baseball fields and maybe a carousel or something like that in this area that really needs a playground. And we just thought that that was a wonderful cause to support.
So you are
So with 5% of our whatever you call
of your
it,
feet, yes.
of the
going,
box office will go to that. So if people are thinking of buying tickets, know that it's not just for the theater, it's also for the community. And
where do they get these tickets? They can call the music box themselves, or they can call the Theater West.
Theater
West.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
And-
on Cahuenga.
yeah.
Okay.
And,
But they can call the music box too.
I think so.
The
yeah.
Henry Fonda
I
music
should have
box.
brought that. I thought
That's
they would
okay.
give you
They'll
that,
get it.
yeah.
They'll get it. They'll call
Yeah.
the music box, and it's the
Yeah.
31st of May, Betty Garrett's birthday,
Yeah.
and 90th birthday party. Woo, that's thrilling. So thrilling. Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you, Skippy.
birthday.
Thank you. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Good.
We're through.
We're finished.
We're finished.
You were wonderful.
Thank you.
So much, Betty. Thank you.
I enjoyed it.
You were great.
I queued up at home.
I got an in-depth interview. That's what I wanted.